What's going on, everybody? Today we're taking a look at something really cool. It's a collaboration between Whatever It Takes Fitness in the UK and Reebok, and that's their Flexweave Legacy Lifter. So these were sent to me a little bit earlier so that I could take a look at them, I could gather my thoughts about them, and then I can provide you some kind of initial review before the shoes came out. The shoes launch on October 4th at 12 p.m., which also coincides with the brand new launch of their American site, which is really cool. They're coming to the United States finally. They have locations in like Dubai and Hong Kong, the UK, and now United States. So this collaboration is like 3 years in the making. The Flexweave Legacy Lifters are going to be exclusive to Whatever It Takes Fitness. So if you want these ones, then make sure that you pick them up on October 4th. The black and gum colorway itself is not going to be exclusive to Whatever It Takes Fitness, just the one with the Flexweave upper. And that's really what makes these shoes special. So the Flexweave, initially what I thought was just the toe box, but it's actually pretty much the whole body of the shoe up until right about there. And then that leads right into the heel strap, the TPU heel strap. So this one's a little bit more opened up. I'll pull this one down. So yeah, the Flexweave upper is a good chunk of the shoe. The rest of the shoe has pretty much the same build quality of the normal Legacy Lifter. There is a bit of mesh at the rear. Of course, you've got your TPU heel strap. There's this little leather bit, and it's got a little extended part for the Whatever It Takes logo, which is kind of cool. And then you have the TPU heel, which is 22 millimeters in heel height, so the same heel height as the normal Legacy Lifters. The outsole is gum on this model, and this is a special type of gum that they had been working on for a while, and in my experience it does grip a little bit better than the standard rubber on the normal Legacy Lifter, but it's not a mind-blowing difference. I wish they had maybe put a little bit more time into that gum bottom. So let's just go back to the start of the show, which is the Flexweave upper. So this one is a little bit different than the Nano 8's Flexweave. Nano 8's kind of have a more open Flexweave, whereas the Legacy Lifter has a little bit more of a closed one, kind of like the type found on the Power Light mids. There's a little bit more structure to these, but they are still very flexible, and they really do feel like a different shoe compared to the normal Legacy Lifters. The normal Legacy Lifters used a synthetic material for their upper, which was pretty good. I honestly thought the normal flexibility was pretty decent, but when you put on the Flexweave ones, it's a whole new ball game. These things are really comfortable to wear. Now, one thing I think that they kind of missed the mark on with the Flexweave Legacy Lifters is the weight. They did not weigh very much under the normal Legacy Lifters. I weighed these in at 21.27 and the normal Legacy Lifters at 21.52, both in a size 9.5. That's probably the biggest complaint that anyone has about Legacy Lifters, is that they're just a little bit heavy of a shoe, which does correlate with stability, but you kind of have to have a balance between the shoes. I think a lot of people kind of like where the Romaleo 2s are at, and that's why a lot of people still use them. They're like 17 ounces, and they're fairly decently flexible, and they're very stable shoes. So other than the fact that these have the Flexweave upper, you do have some random Whatever It Takes bits, like the tongue says Whatever It Takes on it. The tongue itself is padded and it's ventilated. It's the same kind of mesh that you'll find around the ankle collar, which is pretty comfortable. And then in the insole, which is removable, it says WIT right on the bottom of it. It's the same insole that you'll find on the standard Legacy Lifter. And then there is a new pattern that is kind of ribbed on the straps of the shoe, and then where the Reebok logo is, it's just printed in a different color right there. So I don't know if those really do anything functionally. I don't really feel like they do anything functionally, but they look a little bit different, and they kind of carry on with the pattern of the Flexweave. So when it comes to sizing your whatever it takes legacy lifters, I'm going to say go with your normal weightlifting shoe size. If you wore a size, for example, 9.5 legacy lifter, then get these in the same exact size. Size them a half size down from your training shoes. So for example, if you wore a size 10 Nano 8, you would get these in a size 9.5. These are going to feel pretty similar to a half size up training shoe size. And they're going to feel a little bit bigger than a comparable sized weightlifting shoe. If this is your first time looking into legacy lifters at all, they fit a little bit more on the wide side. There is a pretty good amount of arch in the legacy lifters. The toe box is fairly wide. Compared to Addy Powers, they're going to be a lot more wide. Compared to Romaleo 3s, they're going to be a lot more wide. The closest that I could say these fit to are Romaleo 2s, and pretty much how the arch is shaped and the actual just width of the shoe in general. There's a lot of ways to customize your fit with the legacy lifters. First off, you have the lacing system, then you have dual medial and lateral straps, and then this middle part right here also aids in the fit. It's another strap that is just laced together with the shoelaces. Then you do have the extra lace so you can do, or a lace hole so that you can do lace lock if you had any kind of heel slip, which I've never had any issues with heel slip in a legacy lifter. So for comfort and flexibility, that's kind of like where there's this little kind of divide in what people want from a weightlifting shoe. A lot of people have said, why do you even need Flexweave in a weightlifting shoe in the first place? Because you want it to be stable, you want it to hold your feet in. And I would not disagree with that. I do think that weightlifting shoes don't have to be the most comfortable shoes, but if you live in your weightlifting shoes, then I'm going to say that this is probably the best option for a comfortable weightlifting shoe. The Flexweave upper really makes these feel much different than the normal legacy lifters. Even though I did think that the normal ones were fairly comfortable for a weightlifting shoe, these are just on the next level. They also breathe a lot better, so if you get like sweaty feet, these are going to be much more comfortable. If you have the original legacy lifters and you're like a CrossFitter and you have a spare pair of weightlifting shoes to just throw on for a few lifts here and there, then you probably do not need these. But if you are a weightlifter, this is going to change the game for you. I think that this is probably a huge upgrade over the standard legacy lifters. But that's also assuming that you wanted just a more comfortable weightlifting shoe. Stability of the legacy lifters have always been their strongest point. I think that these are one of, if not the most stable weightlifting shoe that has a 3/4 inch heel height, or 3/4 inch heel height, 22 millimeters, whatever you want to say. But the legacy lifters, because of their wide platform and their pretty heavy weight, makes them a just really rock solid weightlifting shoe. If you have problems moving your feet, then you might not want to look into legacy lifters. But if you are good about your technique, then the legacy lifters are going to definitely reward you. The Flexweave upper does not detract from the stability of these shoes. It just makes it a little bit more comfortable. Like I said, they're not like Nano 8. They're not like a training shoe or anything. But the Flexweave, you can definitely feel is more flexible towards like the mid part of the shoe, and that's going to translate to when you're doing like split jerks and whatnot. It's just going to be a lot more comfortable. Now, one thing that I have never really been a fan with is the way that the drop works. I feel like it's a little too steep. Like, it's pretty high and then it just goes and just drops down to your toes. That for me has always been an issue because when I put my toes down, then my heels come up. If I go back on my heels, then my toes come up. So it's a little bit harder for me to find balance in these shoes. But other than that, they are rock solid, stable weightlifting shoes. When the WIT Legacies come out, they're going to retail for 150 pounds or 200 US American dollars, which is the same price that the normal ones retail for, which is actually pretty awesome because they could be gouging the price a little bit with these shoes, but they're not. So when it comes to if you should buy these or if you could pass on these, if you are looking for probably the best production weightlifting shoe, then I'm going to say you can spend that money on the WIT Legacy lifters. If you all you do is do weightlifting or powerlifting and you live in your weightlifting shoes, I'm going to highly recommend these. These are, for me, a must buy. But if you are like a CrossFitter, you only very sparingly use your weightlifting shoes, you probably don't need these. A lot of the times you can find the original Legacy lifters at a discount, sometimes even as low as like $100, which I'd say is a much better value than spending $200 on something that you're not going to use a ton, but is definitely a really, really cool shoe. And it's a really, really good shoe, but you just have to weigh out the pros and cons and whether or not you need to spend that extra bit of money. But that doesn't change the fact that these are still probably the best production weightlifting shoes. And if you got the money and you're willing to spend it, you know, go ahead and drop it on this weightlifting shoe because they are really, really sick. They come out October 4th on the US and the UK, whatever it takes fitness sites. But if you have any questions about them, until then, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And as always, guys, please hit that like button and subscribe.